Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast Central. Thank you for joining us this morning on News Central Television for the next 3 hours. We will be exploring some of the stories, the breaking news. Yes, there indeed are breaking news, and you get to hear some of them this morning when we're handling wake-up conversations. But you're welcome to the show. I am Olive MOD.
And I'm Gbenga. Sometimes I feel the 3 hours is not enough. We should get into Jasiri's time and do like 5 or 6 hours. But, we have to help other people be relevant.
5 or 6 hours.
No, they have to work.
I see.
And they also bring a different angle. But if it's left to me, because of the love I have for our viewers, and I just love working with you guys, it would have been 5 or 6 hours. But man no be God, and man no be GMD. So,
Wow.
I don't have powers. But welcome to Breakfast Central. You know why I'm this excited, because, it doesn't feel like work anymore. I'm with my brother and sister every morning. I will go through all the big stories, insightful conversations. It's like Gen Zs would say. Breakfast Central is given, and it's popping. It's popping heavy.
There's one Gen Z slang.
What is it?
Purr.
No, I won't sit down.
I see what you guys are doing there. Welcome to Breakfast Central. As usual, I am, standing on existing protocols by my colleagues, and I feel really elated to be here. It's Tuesday, day 2, and the stories already are starting to look very juicy, spicy. From the political angle, of course, we're going to touch on that, don't forget. But on Wake Up Conversations, we'll take a look at some of the stories and bring in our angles to it in terms of our opinions, and not forgetting we also try to separate what it is and what it is not.
Very true.
And that's what we're about to do this morning. So I'm going to give Olive the gauntlet to go ahead.
No, I think Gbenga
But
before then, I need to give a special shout out to Benny.
Yes.
I need to give a special shout out to Benny for this coffee. The coffee is given. It's given everything it's meant to give. Thank you, Benny. You may now proceed.
Okay. Now we start off our wake-up conversation with the third citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I'm talking about no other person than the Senate President, Senator Godswill Akpabio, and he says poverty is not a crime. It could be virtue from God. And this has led to lots of reactions on social media, and people are saying, if it's a virtue from God, why didn't you collect that virtue of poverty? But I do agree with him that poverty is not a crime. It's also an indictment on the elite class, the political ruling class. We can't start from 1960, so we'll start from 1999. But let's take a listen, hear it from the horse's mouth, or rather the Senate President's mouth, and then we'll come back to dissect the issue, because like every debate, there are both sides to a story. Yeah.
And you have a man who died, as a man today, the Pope, who was worth only $100, showing that yes, you cannot worship God in splendor, and that the best way to worship God is to worship God through self-sacrifice for others. So the message is very clear that Nigerians should love one another, and that poverty is not a crime, and that poverty could sometimes be a virtue of God, and that whatever you have, you should be able to share with your brothers.
Now, just to mention that was an interview he granted on the Nigerian Television Authority, and it was being asked, I think it was something in the line of lessons he learned from the life of the Pope, and he was reflecting on the life and times of the Pope, talking about how, the Pope was not fixated on money, how much he had at the end of his life, and how at the end of the day you can pick a lesson that poverty is not a crime. Nigerians, of course, have taken that and said, this lesson that you are saying that the Pope's life has taught you, did you learn this lesson yourself? Especially because the Nigerian legislators have always been at the forefront of controversies regarding so many conversations from budget padding to not being empathetic about the plight of the people.
Also,
recall that this same senator
functions.
Recall that this same speaker was the one who said they would receive prayer in their emails, of course, talking about money at a time when Nigerians were crying about the state of the economy.
And are still crying.
But what he's saying, like Gbenga said, is not a lie. Poverty, and they would argue with me, because I worry that whilst I do not want us to become the poverty capital of the world, whilst I do not want us to be known for poverty, because there's more to Nigeria, but even the holy books say the poor will always be among you, right? But the challenge now is that I mean, the other day we saw a preacher that said God does not associate with the poor. Jesus did not associate with the poor, which is a blatant lie. You know, it's heresy and
That's a hustler.
it's a blatant lie. Jesus was here for the rich, he was here for the poor, but this is not a religious discourse. What I'm saying is, people need to understand that there are procedures and processes. Even when you want to make wealth, there are rules. You're spending, you're earning. We need to kill that desire for overnight success, the desire to just have everything. I think the major reason why Nigerians are attacking him will be the fact that lawmakers have been in the eye of the storm. The Senate President in particular has been in the eye of the storm for several controversies, and they're saying, we hope that you have also learned this lesson that you're preaching.
I mean, according to MBS data, 63% of Nigerians are multidimensionally poor. And that's coming from a government agency. So you would know that figure is very conservative. There would always be poor people, but what is the government doing about it? Where are the social safety nets? You look at a country like Norway, for example, they have the biggest sovereign wealth fund. They planned for the future. They didn't spend the excess money they made when on rainy days. They planned, and that money is used to take care of the poor and vulnerable in society. So if you're an orphan in Sweden, in Norway, most of the Scandinavian countries, you rather there's almost zero homelessness in those countries. So where are the poor people? That's a responsibility of government. It's a lottery that we're born into, the family we're born into, but I don't think God intended to put us on this earth to suffer. As a result of circumstances, some people end up in the lower rung of society, but it doesn't mean they're less human. So it's a duty for government, where people pay taxes, for a country that is blessed with human and material wealth. Yes. It's an indictment that children, if we drive around now, they are hawking in traffic when they should be in school. And then in that same country, people are driving cars that were not manufactured to even ride in the midst of such poverty. You see Lamborghinis, Bugattis. I'm not saying you don't have a right to what you should spend your money on, but there's something not right, especially if you're a public official. It should reflect. Learn from Captain Ibrahim Traore and Thomas Sankara.
Great words, Gbenga. I mean, I think for me, I've always said it's the timing. Our leaders should best learn timing. And timing, in this case, simply means before you make certain statements, you should be able to read the room. If you're talking about the late Pope, you might also mention, okay, about the poor. Have you also mentioned other things? There are other aspects of the entirety that you could talk about.
Speaking up for the vulnerable.
Exactly.
And he could have still talked about that poverty without saying what he said.
Exactly. So what I'm going to say is, I mean, was the Senate President wrong in his statement? The answer is no. He made his points clear, and he was, of course, reflecting on having gone to the burial and so on and so forth. But for Nigerians, that timing is wrong. And I think for the leaders, they need to really understand that for you to put something out there, you need to be able to understand what's the mood of Nigerians right now. Think about it. It's like the solar panel issue. You're trying to ban the solar panel, of course, which is going to be one of our conversations today. You're trying to ban the solar panel, but you're also trying to install that in Aso Villa. Not just that, you're also ensuring that, while we put this ban, the hospitals don't have it. So it's a case of, we need to think carefully before we make certain remarks. But then again, he said it, and Nigerians just have to deal with it. Don't forget that this is the same person who said, while you people are protesting, I would be in my house eating. And the same person said, if hunger catch you, anywhere you see where people are eating, you should do what? Join them and eat. So it's been many remarks too many. It's been one remark too many.
I think that he needs a communications person.
Maybe the Senate
President. Did they even listen to the advisors? The Senate, the President, former political advisor, senior special advisor on politics, said he only saw Mr. President once. He didn't even have time to give the President advice. He's been giving interviews recently. He said Mr. President is very insular. Those around him prevent him from getting advice. It's only his inner
I think Senator Ali Ndume also made that remark as well. That he's been stopped many times, not able to see the President.
You think just because they appoint you as an SSA, they say you should come and eat breakfast, that you can be giving opinion? You better observe
Wake
table
up.
man. You better observe table manners, my sister.
Well, anyway, still speaking about poverty, I'm sure you have the next story.
Talking about poverty, Mr. Peter Gregory Obi recently had a conversation, an engagement at the Johns Hopkins, you could say, where he talked about a lot of things. Permit me to start this way. Mr. Peter Obi is known to be very vocal, especially using numbers, digits, and voices.
And he says it
I think
as
his
it is.
second name should be the data man. You know, after all, they say
And
statistics.
statistics. We go chop. Great minds, brother.
Statistics we go chop, but then again, we see what the statistics is saying now because we are eating it now.
Yeah, data is the new gold.
Data is now telling you, listen, you are going to be in trouble if you don't do this, if you don't do that. But then again, let's go back to the conversation. So he had an engagement there at Johns Hopkins, and one thing he did was he painted a gloomy picture of Nigeria. He talked about Nigeria's economy, how fragile it is, what it was before. I was able to watch the video, just a little clip and so on and so forth. And while he made those statements while having that conversation, it didn't go down well with some people. And they felt that, listen, you are demarketing Nigeria. Now, for those who are wondering, when you demarket a brand or a product, it means that you make it unsellable. You make it, you put it in a state where even investors would be scared. They have to do extra due diligence before they come through and say, listen, I want to put my money where my mouth is. And what Mr. Peter Obi, in quotes, was said to be doing was to demarket Nigeria, bring down his value, and he shouldn't have been doing that. Who was saying this? It's the governor of Lagos State, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who came out and said, listen, you don't do that. And he went ahead to point his own data as well. That
his track record as governor of Anambra State.
And you should mention the title of that. He said, factually addressing Mr. Obi's criticism of Nigeria at Johns Hopkins
Absolutely.
University.
This is a Peter
You would
Obi's
expect
tweet.
him to defend Nigeria, not
Exactly.
lead the messenger. Let's talk about
Exactly. And we're going to look this clearly. I'm going to look at this clearly, guys. Yesterday, I had the honor of visiting California State University, Sacramento, where I was warmly received by the president of the institution, Dr. Luke Wood. You know, he said, following the reception, I had the pleasure of meeting Professor Nicole Fox, author of After Genocide, a deeply moving reflection on the pain of conflict and enduring hope of reconciliation. And then he went ahead that they had a conversation. He talked about displaced persons and their families and loved ones. They also spoke about violence, conflicts, criminality. And then he shared some powerful initiatives where they had conversations about it. And at the end, he said he was truly inspired by the vision and compassion behind the projects that they talked about. And he said it includes leadership that Nigeria needs. And he sees value in every human life and believes in the second chances. But this is from Peter Obi. But then again, like we said, the governor of Lagos State responded and gave his headlines, factually addressing Mr. Peter Obi's criticism of Nigeria at Johns Hopkins University. He stated the date. He said he made the unflattering remarks, not just about the incumbent Nigerian government, but also about Nigeria. I also find Mr. Obi's pattern of behavior disturbing. When prominent Nigerians go overseas, they ought to project Nigeria positively. They do not have to do that for the government, but we all owe a duty to market Nigeria on the global stage rather than demarket her. That is what true patriotism is about. But then again, this is a story, guys. I don't know what your take is before, I drop my little 2 cents.
Can I go first?
Please go.
Go ahead, please.
You know, we often have this ostrich mentality. You think if you don't talk about a problem, the problem would disappear. I remember the BBC Welcome to Lagos documentary so many years ago. It should be more than 10 years ago. It was about a young man that was working in a dumpster. The dumpster near 7-Up. Ojota.
Yeah.
Yes, and they did a documentary. They followed him to Ajegunle. His name is Vocal Slender.
Yeah, Vocal
he's
Slender.
doing very well
I remember
today.
him.
He has a initiative, back to school initiative, and what have you. You know, I went through the comments, and Nigerians were like, "Why is the BBC highlighting this? And why didn't they show parts of Banana Island? How many of you live in Banana Island?" The fact that we still have a Vocal Slender in society, it's someone that feeds off working in a dumpster, in a dump site, is an indictment for us. We should strive to make everywhere livable and get people into meaningful jobs so that when they come with their cameras, regardless of their motive, they won't have those sort of things to show. And that's my mentality. I remember when I was in university, I had a couple of Nigerian students in my class too, and anytime I say the truth about the condition of things in Nigeria, like, look, we still have power cuts, they'll be hitting me that, that you are falling our hand in front of all this Oyibo people, that they would look at it. Look, the internet is there. They know the true state of things in the state. It's not in my position to demarcate Nigeria. I could sell Nigeria for all, like a salesman, the best salesman in the world. Once they go do their research, the data is there, CIA fact book is there, the statistics are there. They will know the true position of things. I think Mr. Obi's criticism is out of, I mean, he's a politician, so there, I understand that.
The political undertones.
The political undertones, like, yes, you're not supposed to, I understand the politics of it, but the fact is that things are not right. And I agree with him. Take a drive around all the teaching hospitals. If you say a school is, if you say a country is working, go to the prisons, go to the hospitals, and go to the schools, hospitals, and prisons. If you're satisfied with the state of things you see there, then it means things are fine. On the other hand, for Mr. Sanwo-Olu, I look at Lagos. It's I've seen videos of the drones are always nice from the top. But calm down.
Like you said that yesterday.
You cannot smell, the drone cannot show you what is smelling. And then the potholes. A lot of Lagos needs, roads need resurfacing. It's so bumpy. Do you know how much people spend on shock absorbers?
And then they say you come for roadworthiness.
The darkness in Lagos, major roads, I'm not talking of Inner Lungu. The major roads are not lit at night. And then you keep bragging about being center of excellence, smart city, you're giving, I mean, these are basics. And if you can't fix your basics, I don't think you have any right to criticize Mr. Obi. So that's my 2 cents.
Olive, you want to go? I think I'll go last.
Well, I think, to be honest, again, when it comes to facts and data and facts will always show.
They don't lie.
They don't lie, right? IMF has had its prediction. The World Bank has its prediction. So I don't think there's anything that is further from the truth from, you know, when we see, and even the condition, beyond what the data says, what is the experience of the average Nigerian, the everyday Nigerian? I think those will point to where we are and what, you know, projections are for where we're headed to. I also still, so to be honest, I understand both sides of the argument. I understand His Excellency Peter Obi giving the facts and the data and saying this is the current position of what is. I also understand Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu's concerns regarding, quote-unquote, demarketing Nigeria. However, I remember when Kemi Badenoch came to limelight, the first week when everybody was bashing her and saying she's demarketing Nigeria, why is she saying this? A lot of people jumped at it and said she's demarketing Nigeria, why she's speaking so poorly of Nigeria. At the time, I remember the first thing I said was, wait, but what she's saying, is it a lie? Is she telling lies? She didn't tell lies, right? So the only thing is, at the end of the day, after that initial one, it seemed like she enjoyed the buzz from the attention she was getting. And then she kept overdoing it, and it absolutely wasn't necessary. So I do say, I hope that this is a wake-up call to Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, to everybody, to know that, look, we don't need to apply makeup on something that already has acne and pimples. Right now, let's get to the point of fixing what is. Let's get to building Nigeria to a place where we are proud of. Yes, every country has its challenges. Every nation has its challenges. There are slums everywhere. There's still countries that have poor schools, or poor education system, even though they're doing well. But I hope that this is sort of a wake-up call. So it's not a thing of we're trying to defend personalities and reputation, and it's an attack against individuals, but we can build Nigeria to a place where we are proud to call it home and proud for our children to inherit, inherit what we've left behind.
I mean, great points, guys. I think you've taken all the words out of my mouth. I think that's pretty much every single thing, you know. Yeah, that's it. What else do you want to say?
Okay.
You know, I think that's it.
Let's move to the third story. It's one that, cost a number of us. It was a heart-wrenching report when in 2022, April of 2022, news about singer Osinachi, a number of us remember the song, she collaborated with Prosper and Ochimana, and then she did the song Ekweme. Her name is Osinachi, and she's a gospel artist that came to limelight after that collaboration. Unfortunately, she passed on the 8th of April 2022. Reports filtered in that her husband, Peter Nwachukwu, was behind her killing. Now this reports have then been substantiated by court judgment. Her husband, Peter Nwachukwu, has been found guilty of killing his wife, Osinachi, and has now been sentenced to death. The reports surrounding this, I mean, if you go through the trial, you will see that they found him guilty of culpable homicide in connection with the death of his wife on April 8, 2022. He was arraigned on the 3rd of June, 2022, faced a 23-count charge filed by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. And the charges include culpable homicide, spousal battery, cruelty to children, and criminal intimidation. Now, during the trial, 17 witnesses were called, including 2 of his children, or 2 of the deceased children as well, and they tendered 25 exhibits. He testified that, in his defense, and he presented 4 additional witnesses. But if you listen to some of the experiences, the children will talk about how he was beating her. People talked about how he used to beat her up, how she would work, and then she wouldn't even earn money for herself. The money goes to him. So basically, it was a case of monkey they walk, baboon they chop.
So sad.
It wasn't just physical abuse, it was financial abuse, it was domestic abuse, abuse on all fronts. And I'm hoping that this is a wake-up call to women, to men, first of all to women, to please ask and tell you that if you are in a marriage, you're in a situation where you're being battered, where you're being abused, get help. Get help. Osinachi's story could have been very different today, and it's so sad. In all of this, it's just unfortunate that she's lost her life. She's not here today. Now the man is also sentenced to death. And the children, the trauma that these children will have to live through. The fact that, first of all, they've lost their mom in the most despicable way, and now their father is going away too. It's too many layers of trauma that could have been avoided if for some reason she either left or, people held the man to account.
Yeah.
And I think society needs to do better for women, to hold men to account. If you know somebody who is abusive, who is violent, hold them to account. Men, hold your colleagues, hold your friends, hold your brothers to account. The church also needs to stand for more people. Religious institutions, stand for these women. I'm hoping that people can be more vocal to speak out. And the reason why a number of women don't speak out is because when things like this happen, the woman is blamed. So a woman is being abused, and the first thing you ask is, why? What did she do? Why did you do that? For him to beat you, you must have done something. It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it goes both ways as well. I think it's similar to the men. For men who equally face abuse.
Nobody deserves abuse.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a video on my social media page where I talked about it as well, where men are being abused and then they're being told, you are a man now. What's wrong with you? But this case, we're not talking about the man. We're talking about a woman who had impacted a lot of people's lives. I remember when this story broke, I think we talked about it at breakfast in our former studio. And I couldn't but imagine what it looked like. You're working, and there's somebody who's sitting down. For me, it was a case of slave and master. How much did you make today? How much did they pay you? Put the money here. I said, put it. So while she was out there, the only joy she had was when she had the microphone. But you could even tell, if I was to write a movie script on her,
how she sang,
you could tell that any moment she possibly was rounding up her singing, her voice would crack to the wake of the fact that
I'm going back
to that monster. And the monster himself was also trying to deny the entire thing. Please forgive my word as monster to all those watching. We're sorry. But now that the court has indeed said, yes, you did it, I think we can now add some acronyms to certain actions. And let's, I think it's also time we, Olive Gbenga, I think it's time we separate these actions and call these people out on who they are. I always say this: if you call people insurgents, you call them rebel forces, you call them rebels, you call people prostitutes, you call people, what do you call one who definitely continues to carry out these acts that are not part of being
He's an abuser.
I feel the word abuser is too mild. It's too mild for me. Abuser is too mild. Oh, he's an abuser. Because guess what? An abuser could work with his head up. Oh, abuser will be like, oh, it's fine, I was just an abuser. When you call somebody a monster, you're
calling them what they actually are.
Everybody will be like, wow, what did he really do?
Exactly.
Let them know that these people have this tainted name on their backs, so that they can actually say, oh, I don't want to use this name. I don't want my children to remember me for this. But my worry, finally, guys, is what will happen to the children? If we were to be abroad, I would say the government would have taken charge of the children, the family. They will say, okay, come, they put you into the social programs and say, let's take care of the family because of this case.
And even at that, those ones are not even without, they are not fail-proof, right? In some cases,
Yeah.
the children
It's
still
still
grew up a
a
bit
tragedy.
broken. So I don't.
Yeah.
I really worry about the children. My heart goes out to them, and I would have said that this is justice for Osinachi, but justice cannot bring her back. Justice would have been her being here with her children, to be able to raise her children, to be able to live her life and have her dreams. But all of that has been cut short because somebody felt he was, all powerful and had the rights to treat her in a way that no human being deserves to be treated. It's really unfortunate.
Very sad.
Very sad. And just to anyone out there to mention, I know that Lagos State has facilities to help women and men too who are going through sexual and domestic abuse. So please reach out to the Lagos State Sexual and Domestic and Sexual Violence Response Team, the DSVRT. You can Google them. Their numbers are out there. The Domestic Sexual Violence Response Team will reach out to you. They will help you. I know because I've personally taken somebody there. And I remember Titila's Revival. She was very supportive, very helpful. A young lady who had just been raped by her partner. And these things sound like, it sounds sometimes theoretical until you then encounter it one-on-one. You know somebody it's happened to. So we need to do better as a society. We need to shame people who abuse other people. We need to speak up more for women. And we need to stop shaming survivors. When a woman comes out to say she was raped or she was abused,
especially
and
those
then
in
start
the
asking, what did you wear?
The forces,
what did you wear?
security agents.
Maybe you gave him. I mean, I saw a story in South Africa of a 15-year-old girl.
Wear shorts?
And why you wear short clothes? A 15-year-old girl in South Africa that was raped by a policeman. Why? Because she told him that he had nice eyes. So he went out, came back and took advantage of her, even when she kept telling him to stop. And his response was, it was an invitation to treat. What is this nonsense?
And then you say that guy is just an abuser? He's a monster.
There have, of course, been reactions to this. And let's take a few reactions on social media to the report of Peter Nwachukwu being confirmed guilty by the courts and being sentenced. Let's put up some of the reactions. Brighter Daffy says, gospel singer, that's of course, right? Exactly, Delta State. Gospel singer Osinachi's husband, Peter Nwachukwu, sentenced to death by hanging. What I know is that before the court will arrive at this judgment, there must be enough evidence to prove that indeed the singer was suffering from domestic violence. My message is this: get away before it's too late. Get away before you lose your life. May her soul rest in peace. Amen. And that's a very important message. Please get away. Instead of sentencing Osinachi's husband to death by hanging, why not place him in task as a punishment that he will provide every needs of those children every month? Give him a task and let him work in providing every need of those kids. Hanging the man is multiplying the suffering of those children. This is from Emeka Gift Official.
I don't agree with Emeka.
I don't agree with you, Emeka, because he would do it to someone else.
Someone else, Etapita has responded to Emeka saying, I don't know who will take care of the children now. Nigeria that can't take care of street life.
That's my worry.
Will now take care of children that mother and father are dead. The children are in for a challenge till infinity. Nigeria is not a sensible country.
Well, this is someone, you said this is the marketing as well, and I think Gbenga has given the perfect answer. I mean, I just learned from my colleague.
I think this is the most important one,
go
please.
ahead,
I think we should take this tweet.
Yeah, go on.
Otome Princess Okoko says, in the end, divorce is better than death. It's better than living in toxicity. It's better than forever traumatizing your offspring. Praying for a toxic and abusive partner is foolishness. Now, the children Osinachi endured for are left alone, traumatized and stigmatized. Responding to her, Goldman, Steve says, they became orphans. If they didn't go for therapy, getting married will be difficult for them. And if any does, there's every tendency that there will be a pattern repeating itself. Again, I want to re-emphasize that last message. Please, divorce is better than death. Divorce is better than death. It's better than losing your life. We should stop stigmatizing people that are divorced, or people that are about to get a divorce, or people who have cried out because of abuse. Because if we don't stop, this cycle will keep repeating itself. The people will go to their family members and their loved ones and say, I'm being abused, and they'll say, manage, endure, stay for your children.
I can't speak for the children, but I'm sure the children don't even see him as a father anymore.
The children give testimony.
All this pity that, people on X are pitying that they'll become orphans. Because he's been in detention for the last 2 years. How has he been providing? How have the children been surviving?
Maybe
I'm sure there are family members that are looking after them. Then on the flip side of things, Nigerian law, when last did they carry out a death sentence?
I was going to say that. He will be on the death row for a long time.
Was killed. It's almost, we have partnerships with different international organizations, and the global best practices now is they put a moratorium on death sentences.
Yes.
So they hardly
just life imprisonment.
But I mean, who knows? Maybe we might have a president or attorney general of the federation
That will grant him a pardon.
that might, no, not grant him a pardon, that would carry out that sentence.
Right.
But
I don't think
it's unlikely.
Yeah. I honestly don't see, how this is going to turn out differently for him. It's just, as a society, we also then now need to start thinking about the fact that some marriages, unfortunately, would go apart like this because people will still abuse, unfortunately.
Yes,
So
and
we need to
even
provide for the children.
you're even talking of marriages. A young Nigerian, I think, has been deported, or what's the name? He's been extradited to Nigeria. He calls himself Killer Boy. Killing his girlfriend.
Yeah, and then bragging about it.
Femicide, it's a big problem.
It is,
in
it is.
Nigeria.
But when
We
you
have
talk
to do
about it, they'll
something
say, oh, why are you making it about women? We are killing men too.
It's okay.
It is the truth.
It's okay.
But anyway, let's move on from this conversation again, just to say our heart goes out to the family of Osinachi. We hope that this judgment in some measure brings you some sort of comfort that the court and the government hasn't in a way failed Osinachi. And we're hoping that we can rally support for the children and that the families can ensure that, if there's any way that they can reach out to Nigerians, if they need the help for the children, that will be done.
That's right. Well, let's bring to you our top stories this morning here on Breakfast Central and let you know what we are ready to go into for this hour and, of course, the next 2 hours.